Anthropic has been the center of attention for the last few days. From leaking the source code of Claude Code to announcing Claude Opus, a new model focused on software engineering security tasks, to the release of the new Claude Opus 4.7 model. Despite all the good news, Anthropic is involved in two main controversies at the moment. The first one is related to the token users in the new model Opus 4.7, which is using up to 40 more tokens than the previous version, and with the efficiency of Claude Code and the previous Opus model, which users are claiming to be nerfed by Anthropic. We are going to take a look into all those controversies. I already separated a couple of articles and the key takeaways that are going to jump it and read it together, so let's go. The first article is this one in Simon Willison's blog. I already highlighted the takeaways. As far as I can tell, Claude Opus 4.7 is the first model to change the tokenizer, so it's only worth running comparisons between 4.7 and 4.6. The tokenizer is the software component which is responsible to parse the text or the input, all the instructions that we have in the prompt that we are interacting with a large language model, and split that huge text into smaller parts. It can be as small as a word, but it can be even smaller. In the Hugging Face website, we can test a couple of tokenizers that are used by popular models. So right now I have put this sentence right here. A tokenizer chops your text into small chunks called tokens before an AI reads it. And we can see that it already splits the text right here. In this case of this tokenizer, which is used by GPT-4, for example, each token will be related to one of the words in the sentence, but it can be even smaller units than a single word. So I'll actually try another tokenizers. Let's get, for example, the T5 right here, and we can see that, okay, the word tokenizer, for example, is actually split into two tokens. We have a couple of trade-offs related to tokenizers that we're actually using, and Anthropic opted to change the tokenizer for the new Opus 4.7 model. And because of that, this is actually using more tokens than before. And this is exactly what the Simon blog post is actually measuring. So he already have this tool that is able to count the amount of tokens that a model is going to use. And he did a comparison, a simple comparison between the Claude Opus 4.7 and 4.6. And we can see right here that it's actually using 40% more tokens than before. Opus 4.7 is using the same pricing as Opus 4.6, $5 per million input tokens and 25 per million output tokens, so we have the same price. But this token inflation means we can expect it to be around 40% more expensive. But I think the idea right here is to discuss the impact of those changes into our billing in the end of the month, because if it is actually using more tokens, and companies like Anthropic and other AI providers, they make money by token usage, I mean, they have all the incentive to actually use more tokens. Of course, they can increase the quality of the solution, they can make better models, they need in the end of the day that to provide solutions that are willing to pay for it. But they might not be willing to make the models or the tools to use less tokens as possible because they don't have the right incentives for it. There is also another part to this problem that I'd like to discuss, because at this point, the cost of changing to another solution, like for example, stop using Claude Code to use Codex or even Cursor, it's pretty simple, right? It's not very difficult or very expensive to change those tools. Actually, many software engineers are already using multiple tools at the same time, so it's something that we can handle at this point. But looking into the future, I start to see that those companies will start building more and more and more solutions around the large language models. The whole idea that Claude Meet is not available to everyone indicates that maybe in future Anthropic will not going to release their best models, but they actually provide platforms and tools on top of those models. And if you want to use the better models, we need to use their tools. So with this movement in the future that I expect to happen, not only with Anthropic, but with all the big AI players, I think it's very complicated to rely on those tools until we have stable prices and we have a stable market. Because imagine if all we are basically production line relies on this external dependence that we have no control over it, and in the next week or next month the prices can increase a lot, or at least we'll have with older models and your competitors will be able to pay to the best models that we can't. So it's kind of very complicated and unpredictable. And I'm talking about those tools that right now, as I said, they are kind of easy to change, but imagine when we start to integrate existing platform systems into those AI workflows, which is not really easy to change. So there is a lot of challenge and a lot of decisions from a product engineering perspective that we need to take in the next few years and all the transformations that AI is doing in the current market. I confess that I don't know the solution for that at this point. I mean, of course, we can try to treat the large language models as commodity as much as possible, but at least at some point we'll need to rely on those external platforms. Otherwise, we will not be able to have similar results. I mean, comparing with, for example, the cloud, not the cloud, but the cloud infrastructure, AWS or Azure or GCP or whatever, or even running things on premises, sometimes you can have similar results with those services. So for example, instead of use SQS as a message broker platform, you could just use a RabbitMQ or any open source tool to use that. Comparing that with the models is not really the same situation, because I mean, the models, they are way worse. The open source models is not as good as the top models that are closed source at the moment. So yeah, I think we're kind of trapped at this point and we need to wait for the future to see what happens. But let's jump into the other controversy, which is related to the efficiency of Claude Code and Opus 4.6. We have an awesome article in VentureBeat.com which explains all the controversy, and I definitely recommend reading the entire article. But the few takeaways is that a growing number of developers and AI users are taking to social media to accuse Anthropic of degrading the performance of Claude Opus 4.6 and Claude Code, intentionally or as an outcome of compute limits, arguing that the company flagship coding models feels less capable, less reliable, and more wasteful with tokens than it did just weeks ago. With several high-reach posts alleging that Claude has become worse at sustaining reasoning, more likely to abandon tasks midway through, and more prone to hallucinations or contradictions. I could see a couple of posts on X or on Reddit. Some people are replying that people are creating conspiracy theories and everything, until an AMD engineer created an issue on Claude Code GitHub, which provided a lot of data to support all those claims and allegations. The issue was created by Stella Laurenzo and provided a lot of very interesting data. I already highlighted, as always, the key takeaways. Let's read it together. The stop hook violations, which is basically a guard that will request users to give a feedback to continue working on that. So those guards, which basically prevent the agent from working autonomously, start to trigger more and more and more than before. So before March, we basically had 0 occurrences in the Stella's data, and after the change, it's rise up to like 10 times a day, from which I assume it's per engineer. We also got some increase in frustrations indicators in user prompts, which increased 68%. And actually, the ownership dodging correctness needed increased more than 100%. So that part right here is when a engineer, a user that's using Claude Code need to correct the path. So the agent starts going to a wrong direction and you need to correct it to go to the correct direction to be able to solve the task that the engineer is working on. And in my opinion, the biggest claim of that issue is that apparently Claude Code shifted from a research first approach, which involved all the reasoning or thinking step when you start to search for related files to related context before doing the implementation and applying the change. So you basically change from that direction to first change the code directly, which of course will impact the result of the work that is actually being done. And reading that, I actually got some Copilot feelings. I think this is the biggest problem with Microsoft Copilot, which is the agent that I was using a couple of months ago, and I'm not using it anymore. So the model went from 6 reads per edit to just 2 per edit, a 7% reduction in research before making changes. Another interesting key takeaway is that 1 in 3 edits in the degraded period was made to a file the model had not read in recent tool history. So it's basically shotting into random files that is not basically associated with the problem that is being solved. And then we got a final claim that the human worked the same, the model wasted everything. The human put the same effort, but the model consumed 80 more API requests and 64 more output tokens to produce demonstrably worse results. That's really interesting because at some point, if we see that the model is not thinking as much as before, it's not a bad idea to think that we may using less tokens than before, but the thing is that we are not being able to solve the problem. So we need to repeat until we fix the problem that we are ideally trying to solve. So in the end, we're kind of brute forcing the solution, which is going to actually use more tokens at a substantial increase. This is basically shocking to me. And this brings that discussion that we were talking before, that Anthropic and basically any other AI company at the moment doesn't have the right incentive to decrease the number of tokens usage. We got comments for other software engineers or Claude Code users as well. So for example, the El Hoho said that incredible analysis, as a user experienced this over the past weeks and couldn't put my finger on it. The point on research first, edit first stood out of me. I've been tweaking all my Claude.md to counteract this without realizing. The report highlights a significant decrease in quality that shouldn't be underestimated. The creator of Claude Code, Boris Cherny, answered to all this thread that we read together. He said that it does not impact thinking itself, nor does it impact thinking budgets or the way extended reasoning works under the hood. It is a UI only change. I understand that it's important to put problems to the right category, but I don't know if this make any importance or any difference for the perspective of the users. because, okay, maybe this is a problem in the tool or in the parameterization of a tool and not in the model itself, but the perspective from the user, they are unable to solve their problem and the tool basically is lacking efficiency. I kind of have mixing feelings about this statement. He also said that they put medium effort 86 on Opus 4.6 on March 3. We found that effort 85 was a sweet spot on the intelligence latency cost curve for most users, improving token efficiency while reducing latency. And he left a very good tip that I start to use right now, which is that we can also use the ultra-think keyword to use high effort for a single turn, or set /effort max to use even higher effort for the rest of the conversation. So I think this is a good tweak, something that we can use to have a similar behavior before the updates. So as they says, the model is basically the same, so we can do this change in the UI to basically achieve similar results or to bypass this problem that is happening to Claude Code. But it's weird that they did this change thinking about token consumptions and to reduce token usage and costs, but at the same time, the user Stella is reporting that the token consumptions increased by a substantial amount of times. So yeah, let's see where this all this investigation and this controversy goes to, because we kind of have data points that are opposite to each other at this point. By the way, I said that I got mixed feelings about the statements and the answer from the Claude Code creator, but actually the community didn't like it at all. We can see right here by the number of dislikes and the frustration emoji right here in the answer in GitHub. And we actually got some comments from users. For example, the Shaloop dev said that they closed it, talking about the issue which was closed without a clear solution by Anthropic. That is super weird and questionable decision. People have to be accountable for ruining their product. We got also a comment by Proxy Blue, which have downgraded back to 2.1.109 as it seems to work better. So they're kind of getting stuck into a older version of the tool. And we got a lot of not very polite comments in the rest of the section that we are not going to read in this video, because this is a family channel, folks. So yeah, that's basically what is happening at this point. So we got all this evidence that maybe we don't know why, but apparently the efficiency of the models is being impacted, but is actually using more tokens. And I wouldn't be surprised to have some increase in the prices, or by increasing the price per token, or by the increase in the number of the tokens. So you don't actually need to increase the price per token to actually increase the overall cost, if you understand what I'm trying to say. So yeah, but that's very complicated. The debate around the dependence in that and all those AI tools is hitting a lot, and I would like to hear about you. What do you think about that? Did you notice, are you a Claude Code user? Did you notice anything weird in the last 2 months? Did you notice a decrease in the quality of the tool and the tasks that you are working on? Left the comments over here. I'd like to hear your opinion, and thanks for watching to this video. Don't forget to subscribe in the channel, it will help me a lot, and if you could left a like, I would appreciate as well, because this helps to deliver the content and the content of this YouTube channel to other people as well. So see you in the next video.